Hello and welcome to this breakdown video of my mock-up of Bach's Badinerie from his orchestral suite in B minor. This is the project that we're going to take a look at. And I made this project from an import of a MIDI file that I downloaded from musicor.com. Let's take a listen at the beginning of this mock-up. There we go, that's the start. So this contains of a solo flute. We have some chamber strings from Spitfire Audio. And I also doubled that part with the solo parts from Fluid Shorts 3. And we have a harpsichord, of course. So this piece contains like 95% of short articulations. So I want to begin by looking at the solo flute here. This is the part. Let's solo it. Yeah. So since short articulations is controlled by velocity, this is the velocity you can see here. The more red the color is, it's a higher velocity. You can also see the velocity here. Yeah, so we can see something here that I usually call metrical accents. The stronger beat that the note is on, the higher velocity it usually has. So the first note that is on the first beat is actually 127 maximum velocity. And these short notes that are between the beat are at a lower velocity. And then we get to a note that is on the beat again, then it's a higher velocity, and so on. And that usually makes it sound very musical and natural, how a real flutist would play it. Let's take a look at some articulations. The different colors here is different articulations, and these are mostly different short articulations, so different lengths on the shorts. So these ones, the repetitions, are the shortest one in cinematic studio woodwinds. It goes repetitions, staccatissimo slightly longer, staccato longer, and sforzando the longest. So I start here with the staccatissimo to have a little bit more punch on the first note. And then we have short articulations in the middle and a long articulation in the end. Here I actually have a legato in the middle. To make it become like a slurred feeling, according to most of the recordings that I listen to. Yeah. So in my experience, a good combination between different length of short articulation often renders a natural and good sound. Since I imported a MIDI file, everything will come on the beat. So you'd think that this would sound like very static and robotic, but it actually doesn't. It sounds pretty fluid, and that's because I made tempo changes in the project itself. So this is a BPM. So I start at low tempo and I go up, and I keep this moving all the time to get like a natural flowing in the rhythm. And I did this by hand. This is a part of my workflow where everything is on the metronome tempo, and I change the metronome tempo itself instead. So let's take a look at the strings next. Let's begin with the Spitfire chamber strings. This is what it sounds like by itself. Yeah, I think it sounds very nice. I think the short articulations in the Spitfire chamber strings is probably one of their biggest strengths. So, same thing here. Notes on the beat are at a higher velocity than notes off beat. So this is usually a good way to go. The velocities throughout this piece I've kept pretty high to get like a gritty sound. Alright, let's take a look at the layering of the solos with Fluid Shorts 3. Yeah, as you can hear, this is a bit more nasty sound, and yeah, even though the velocities aren't higher than on the chamber strings, it's yeah, they sound higher. And if we solo the cello, I think we can get a look what's going on there. Listen to this. Yeah, so I absolutely love this sound. It sounds like the cellist is struggling to play this and with real effort. You can hear the nasty bow sound on the strings and the surrounding strings from the playing. And I think this really adds a layer of realism to the string parts. And of course this is in the background, and together with chamber strings you can't really hear the details so much of this, but just enough for it to make a good realistic impact. Let's listen to the chamber strings and then add the fluid shorts into it. Next up, let's take a look at the harpsichord. So I'm using a Museo harpsichord. I have a Museo subscription, so they usually have a lot of instruments, so I just took a look there. And yeah, this is what I found. So they have a couple of harpsichords. They have like a Baroque harpsichord, single, double or triple. I actually don't really know what they mean by that, but I found the triple to have a little bit fuller sound than the single. Harpsichord in solo sounds like this. Yeah, and if we take a look at the MIDI, I made a few changes from the MuseScore file here. So this harpsichord part is actually not written originally by Bach. Bach only wrote out the basse continue part. So this is a version that someone wrote from that basse continue part. And I think it sounds all right. I have no problem with it. What I did was, in the first part, I took out some of the bass notes and I kept it a little bit more simple. And when the repeat comes, I took everything down one octave and added more bass notes. You can hear the difference from that. Compared to the second time. Yeah, I think it adds like a nice variation on the retake. You can see that there are different velocities here. I don't really know why it's like that. A harpsichord is not a velocity-based instrument, so if I have 127 or if I have 1, it's gonna sound exactly the same. The last thing I added in the project is some breath sounds, and they're very subtle. You can't barely hear them. If I play them in solo, it sounds like this. Yeah, I think I copied in the same thing here in different places. So if you really listen to it all together, I think you might be able to hear at least the first one. Yeah, but they're really subtle. So yeah, I had an idea that I wanted to make this as realistic as possible. So yeah, it was fun to put these breath sounds here, even if you barely can hear them. Now let's take a look at the mix. So we begin with the flute. I have a compressor here, so it's a pretty low ratio, just to make the flute stand out a little bit more. So it's supposed to be a solo that's over all the other instruments. So I wanted the softest notes to pop out a little bit more. If we go here, we also see that I have a channel EQ, standard channel EQ for my flutes. If we go into the instrument itself, I also have another EQ here. I just took out a brick wall EQ, everything from like 200 Hertz and down. So no muddiness at all here. Let's take a look at the strings. I have a channel EQ on the chamber strings. Looks like this. This is a standard EQ that I have on all my strings. And I also have a glue compression. Yeah, with and without the compression. So it like beefs it up a bit. Let's take a look at the layering fluid shorts. I have an EQ, I think same EQ as on chamber strings. And a session of this fantastic plugin called Bloom. So it's basically analyzing the EQ curve, and it puts in like dynamic EQs on the parts that sticks out and make it all blend a little bit better together. So let's listen to With and Without. It's pretty subtle. All right. The harpsichord only has EQ. I don't want a lot of bottom end at the harpsichord, so I'm taking it out and taking out a little bit of the top as well. We can listen to the harpsichord with and without the EQ. Yeah, I actually think the harpsichord sounds better by itself without the EQ, but together with the strings and the flute, I don't want it to be too top heavy here. So I rounded it off so it won't take as much space in the all over sound. So let's also take a look at my master here. I have a lot of plugins on my master. Let's go over them together. First of all, I have an EQ. I only use this at 50%. Sometimes I use more and sometimes I use less. I have another insert of Bloom, Warm Acoustic Master preset with 3 is the amount I'm used. That's pretty low. I'm actually not using a glue compression on the master for this piece. But I am boosting some highs and lows, 500 Hertz and here at 5000 Hertz, and here at 100 I'm boosting a little bit. I'm using this one, Abbey Road Vinyl. Let's take a listen with and without. So it adds, it adds a bit of saturation, I think, high end and also some low end. Yeah. And I also have some noise and crackle that blends nice with the mix, I think. I'm using a multi-brand compressor that's called OTT. I think this is a fantastic plugin. I use it in almost all my projects, and it's completely free, actually. So what it does is it just gives like a presence to the sound. I'm boosting the highs and the lows a little bit, and yeah, it gives like a grit to the sound. I'm only using 5%. Let's listen to it with and without, and see also if I take it up to like 10 or 15%, what happens to the sound. Yeah, so as you can hear, the sound becomes brighter and a lot more present when on, and yeah, it's quite a difference actually. So I usually keep it low, between 5 and 10%. For classical music, probably more around 5. I also have an imager from Ozone. This is also free. So what it does is just widen the stereo spectrum. I have it on 25%. If I were to increase it, you can hear the difference. We have some reverbs. And we're going to take a look at that. So I'm actually using 3 reverbs. It's pretty standard for my projects. So I'm using a 2-second reverb, preset Vanilla Concert Hall from FabFilter. Oh, and I'm actually not using this at all because it's at 0% in the mix, so sorry about that. I'm using this one, Scoring Stage from 7th Heaven, at minus 15 dB. I have some low cut and high cut here actually. But I'm also using inserts of reverb here on Sense. On all instruments, I think. Well, maybe not the harpsichord. But here, here, and here. And also the breast sounds. And that goes to this one. Cinematic Rooms, 2-second reverb from Cinematic Rooms. And finally, I have a limiter from FabFilter as well. I also use the gain here. I try to push it up as high as possible to always get like as a loud signal as possible without hitting over the top too much. So let's take a look at the tempo of the project here. So what I usually do is I listen to from part to part of the music, and I try to drag the tempo up and down to follow the natural phrases of the music. And the biggest changes I make in the start and end of every phrase. So here I start in a lower tempo, and here at the end of the phrase I go down pretty much in tempo. So let's listen to this. And I think that sounds pretty natural, probably like a Bach musician would play it. Same thing here. Yeah. And at the end, of course, I'm making a bigger ritarando. Yeah. I think that's it, guys. Thank you so much for watching this breakdown, and feel free to put a comment in the comment section, or hit the like if you like this video, and hopefully I see you more in the future with more videos like this.